Welcome to our 5 on 5. We're pleased to welcome Kathy Lemay, a speaker, activist, consultant, fundraiser for the empowerment of women causes. Kathy, how are you today?
I'm excellent. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
You've raised more than $100 million for philanthropic and women's causes. How did you get into this business, and why these causes in particular?
Yeah, great. So I got into helping women, I think, as an activist first. I wasn't sure that I'd ever be a fundraiser or want to be talking about money or raising money for people, and slowly realized that if you have a good idea, if you can't get the capital toward it, it's very hard to move it. So it came really rooted from my family, having a strong mother, strong sisters, and realizing that when you looked at the world overall, women were not getting the resources they needed to build and lead the kind of lives they wanted to lead. It was true for my life, growing up without that many resources, and when resources came my way from working, I was able to build the life that I wanted. So I decided to dedicate my life to helping women get there as well.
Okay, and tell us what you're doing in town. You spoke earlier this week to United Way of Jackson County?
I did indeed. The Will Luncheon, which is the women's division at United Way. Great group of women who got together to talk about what can women leaders, women philanthropists, women activists in Jackson County do to lift up the voices of others around them.
And obviously not all of our viewers got to be a part of that luncheon. Yeah. What would you like to say to our viewers about women and the strength that you guys all have?
I'd say there was years and years and years ago when I started this work, and I remember I read a report, and the report said, here's the state of women, and it said, here's all the deficits around women's lives. And then it listed everything that wasn't going well for women. And what I got from reading that was that the world hadn't quite yet realized that women are a great untapped resource. That collectively, when we come together, we create solutions, we move money to things that need to get funded. We work great in partnership. We're not competitive the way people think, and that women at our core want to make a difference and want to be part of something larger than ourselves. So what I invite all your viewers to say is, if I know a woman, how can I support her in getting involved to make a difference? And if I am a woman, how do I find other women and get involved with them?
Very cool. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll have much more with Kathy in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Kathy Lemay, speaker, activist, consultant, fundraiser, so many more things, I'm sure, as well. So, Kathy, tell us, do you believe progress has been made in women's issues, and where do we build from here with women's causes?
Yeah, it's a great question. Somebody asked me this recently, and they were talking about Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, and the ways in which people are talking about women's leadership and women's activism in ways they haven't before. So I think two things about it. Women's leadership and women's activism have always been there. They're just starting to kind of get public attention. So there is progress, but there always has been this extraordinary work that women has been doing. Now there's a spotlight on it. We have made progress in terms of the world leaders paying attention to women in a way they have not before in talking about what women really face worldwide. But I think the progress left to be made is, a great mentor of mine once said, if you can count on one hand the number of women in a field, you're not there yet. And so I think the day we stop saying the first woman to do this, naming, that it's a woman CEO taking the job rather than there's a CEO who took this job. So once that moment where our gender doesn't become front and center of the conversation and rather the content that we're offering and the thinking we're offering, I think then we're going to really have made it.
Yeah, well said. All right, so how do women find their voice?
Yeah, so this is a really hard and important one for women. I think women historically and in most cultures throughout the world are kind of raised to not make waves so much. Some women can and are strong about it, but as a collective, it's you build bridges with people and you get along. But when you want to kind of break out and say, but this is what I care about and this is what I stand for, what I say to women is there's two things you should do. Find the 3 people you can trust the most and tell them, this is what I really am most passionate about, this is what I want to get involved in, and I'm a little afraid to do it, and I need and want your support in helping me. And the second thing is just start talking to people about it and don't apologize for what you care about. I remember years ago doing women's human rights in my 20s, and people would say, what are you even talking about? And now it's 20 years later, and people look at me and say, boy, I would love to be a part of that. So if it's in your heart, if it's your passion, if it breaks your heart, gravitate to it and you will find your voice in a way you never knew possible.
Well, very cool. All right, and if anybody wants to find out more or visit your website, where
Yeah,
they
so
go?
feel free to visit www.raisingchange.com. There's a book that I wrote called The Generosity Plan, and it's how to change the world if you're a regular person. If you're not Warren Buffett or Bill Gates and you have a mortgage and kids and everything else, but you want to make a difference, and the book outlines that for people.
Very good. Kathy, great to meet you. Thank you so much for being
My
here. Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.